was too simple. Boy, when they say it's too simple, that's a compliment. That's the way Jesus preached. He preached so that the children understood it. Don't ever preach. I remember, I'll tell you a story. It was the last day of our meetings in London in 1954. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we went to White City Stadium, and there was 75,000 people, packed. Then we got in a big bus and went to Wembley Stadium. It was packed with 120,000 people, with thousands outside that couldn't get in. There sat on the platform the Archbishop of Canterbury, the royalty up in the royal box. The lords and the ladies were there. All the press of Britain was there, and the world was there. And I'd prepared just a simple little sermon on choose you this day whom you'll serve. I said, oh, Lord, with all these people here, I said, these type of people which we didn't expect. I didn't expect the Archbishop there that day. I said, and all these bishops, I said, I'll have to have a deeper and more profound message than that. And the Lord said to me, I gave you that message. You get up there and preach it. And I got up and preached it, and God honored it and blessed it, and thousands came to Christ that day. Many of them today are leaders of the churches in England. But how the devil is so subtle. And then preach it with authority. Preach it with authority. Preach it with the authority of all that you possibly can. And personalize it. Preach it to a decision. You know, that's the thing that I've wondered. What is an evangelist? What is his call? What is his gift? I think one of the things God gave me was I'm not a great preacher. And anybody that introduces me as a great preacher doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not a great preacher. I think I am a communicator of a great message. But I think the call that I sense that in my own heart is when I give that invitation. I can sense the presence and power of God in a way that I don't any other time. And that's when the strength goes out of me. I can come and give a talk like this, and I don't feel too tired afterward. But if I were preaching an evangelistic sermon and going to give an invitation for people to come to Christ, during those moments of the invitation, something is going out of me. I feel it and sense it. And I have never given an invitation but once in my life that I can ever remember that no one ever came forward. And that was the first time I preached. Nobody came. I didn't expect them anyway. And I don't blame them after they heard what I'd said. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but I'm going to quit. Always be afraid, always doubt a man when he says in conclusion and finally, and I'm going to quit and I'm toward the end. But the man of God will have a compassionate and sensitive social conscience. Now, I had to go on a pilgrimage in this area because when I started out, I remember in 1952 we held a crusade in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was still at that time president of a college in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I would go out and hold these crusades, and we'd built a big tabernacle. And I saw them putting up some ropes, and I knew that black people were going to have to sit behind those ropes. And I went down there and talked to the ushers and asked them if they'd removed the ropes, and the ushers said no, said that's their custom. I just reached in myself and I took down all those ropes. And I said, I'll never preach to a segregated audience again. And boy, did I take a licking. You should have read the letters and seen the threats that we got and all the rest of it, but we never did from then on. But it became a pilgrimage, and then 2 or 3 years later, I wrote an article for Reader's Digest entitled The Most Segregated Hour of the, I think it was Reader's Digest, one of those magazines, The Most Segregated Hour of the Week. Then I wrote 10,000 words on the subject for Life magazine. I'm sure you've got them here in your library on that subject. And I was asked at Harvard a few weeks ago in the question and answer period, they said, why don't you speak against apartheid? And I looked at that girl that asked the question. She asked it real loud. I said, you know, to stand here at Harvard and talk against apartheid is easy. I said, try going to South Africa and saying it in South Africa in front of the television cameras and all the newspapers and all the people.